Okay, then. We're live. Let's shoot out a quick text. All right, there we go. Oh, let me get my. Forgot I need my headphones. What's up, Freckle? Thanks for coming through. I am excited to stream tomorrow. So, I want to talk about. You've probably seen the stream title. I have something very specific I want to talk about that I feel like is kind of going under the radar a little bit. I won't say it's not being talked about at all because I have seen people talking about it in certain corners. But me having my politics and my positions, obviously I would notice this immediately and talk about this, but like fam, there was literally a fucking CO that was killed in this tornado. On Jesus, my hands are ashy. Sorry, I didn't put any lotion on. I came straight here from work. Anyway, that was distracting. Sorry. There's inmates that got the fucking roof caved in on them in Kentucky. And what's up, Moist? You heard about this? Yeah, we're gonna hold on, I'll pull this up. Totally fucked? Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up. So let's see. Thanks, Sharon. Roof caved in? Yeah, not allowed to be evacuated because of money? Wild. See, I didn't know that was why. Hang on, let me see if I can pull this up because it's paywalled. Sheesh. So I can't read the New York Times joint. Hang on, let me see if I can find something else. You got me? Hang on. Let me turn the multi-stream on so I can actually see Facebook chat as well. Okay. I got a Washington Post link that worked. I'm not paywalled. All right. So, hang on. Here it is. Let me move that over. Let me also mute a bunch of these tabs because they're just noisemakers waiting to happen. Exit all my YouTube tabs. Okay. Okay. There's two things I want to talk about. Here we go. So, let me zoom in so you guys can see the text. There's this. This is a day ago. Obviously, we know about the Amazon uh roof collapse, but um, I'm gonna get back into that. Don't worry, I'm gonna read that and we're gonna talk about that. But what you might not have known about is that this also happened. Uh, a jail employee supervising inmates working at Kentucky Kindle Factory. Excuse me. Let me back up so I can reread the headline. A jail employee supervising inmates working at Kentucky Candle Factory is among those killed by tornado. Thank you, Sami. So, a Kentucky jail employee was among those killed when a candle factory collapsed during Friday night's tornadoes, the jail said, as reports emerged of inmates helping rescue workers from this devastation. Thank you. I appreciate you, Frackle. Let me open Discord. Whoops. All right. Robert Daniel, a jail deputy, was with a group of inmates on a night shift at the factory when he was killed. Hang on. There we go. Forgot to put that in there. The only time shit's popping in Kentucky, basically, like I'm from Dayton, so I was born in Dayton, Ohio. My parents moved when I was like 2, so my original like experience, like I was only 45 minutes from Kentucky, and I actually had to drive through there to get to Memphis one time, or not to Memphis, but to Nashville to go to my mom's oldest sister passed away a few years ago, and yeah, it's fucking wild. You grew up in Alaska? Word. I've wanted to check it out up there, or maybe even live there for like a year or two, because I heard they pay you to live there, and also you can, you know, smoke weed up there. It's legal. But anyway, yep. A jail employee supervising inmates working at Kentucky Candle Factory is among those killed by a tornado. A Kentucky jail employee was among those killed when a candle factory collapsed during Friday night's tornadoes, the jail said, as reports emerged of inmates helping rescue workers from the devastation. Robert Daniel, a jail deputy, was with a group of inmates on a night shift at the factory when he was killed. He did his job honorably and professionally until the very end, Graves County Jail said, excuse me. He did his job honorably and professionally until the very end, Graves County Jail said in a statement posted on Facebook on Sunday. Jailer George Workman told the Washington Post that 7 inmates were at the factory as part of a work program designed to help them get a fresh start on life after jail. The inmates and their supervisor were reportedly buried alongside other workers when a tornado struck, causing the metal building to buckle and collapse on top of them. Graves County Jail was evacuated ahead of the tornadoes, and all of the inmates safely rehoused in other county jails. Daniel, 47, was on his first night shift at the candle factory. Hold on, wait a minute. Daniel, 47, was on his first night shift at the candle factory. His son, Zachary, told CNN. He told the TV network he met his father for the last time at a barbershop on Friday morning, where his dad gave him an early Christmas gift. That night was just horrible. I still don't believe it, he told CNN. Several prisoners were treated for minor injuries before being transferred to a jail in another county, Workman said late Saturday night in response to questions from the Post. Jail officials declined to give any more details about what happened at the factory out of respect for Daniel's family. The use of inmate labor has expanded in recent decades, cringe, with incarcerated workers laboring in injuries. I fucked up. The use of inmate labor has expanded in recent decades, with incarcerated workers laboring in industries including mining, agriculture, and all manner of manufacturing, raising concerns about whether they're vulnerable to workplace exploitation. Supporters say inmates who participate are better prepared for finding jobs once they're released. Official policy on the practice in Kentucky is that minimum security felons may take part in work release programs provided they haven't had a criminal conviction or broken any jail rules in the past 6 months. Participation in the jobs programs is voluntary. The policy, bleh. Participation, bleh. Participation in the jobs programs is voluntary, the policy states, and inmates are responsible for securing their own employment. The employer must pay a lawful wage, and inmates are required to pay a portion of their wages to the jail, which is not to exceed the lesser of $55 per week or 20% of their weekly net pay. Lathan Harple, 18, was at the factory when the tornado hit. Buried beneath the rubble, he and another man started digging upward, he told Kentucky radio station WFPL. They emerged about 15 minutes later with only scrapes and bruises, he said. Others were not so lucky. I helped one of the inmates out, and he told me that the officer was stuck bad, Harple wrote in a comment. Bleh. I helped one of the inmates out, and he told me that the officer was stuck bad, Harple wrote in a comment in response to a prison Facebook post about the tornado. Harple told WFPL he had been employed at the factory for only a few weeks, making a minimum wage plus an extra $1 an hour for working the night shift, which ran from 5 p.m. to 3:30 a.m. As the tornado sirens sounded on Friday night, workers took shelter in the bathrooms, he said. A short time later, the tornado struck. I heard what sounded like rolling thunder, and I started running, and I looked back. The roof lifted up and came back down, he told WFPL. I remember screaming out, "Scream if you need help," and all you could hear was people screaming from every direction. The data suggests they are not well prepared for finding jobs once released. Kentucky has one of the highest recidivism rates in the country. We're going to talk about that after this because I have thoughts on that as well. Another factory worker, Kiana Parsons Perez, told NBC's Today Show of the prisoners' plucky efforts to rescue people from the rubble. Some of those prisoners were working their tails off to get us out, said Parsons Perez, who earlier live-streamed the cries of her colleagues awaiting rescue. And to see inmates, because you know they could have used that moment to try to run away or anything, they did not. They were there. They were helping us. Wow. Which is just a testament to the souls of the men who are in these conditions, right? So I want to talk about something. There's an important bit. So there's this part here which is pretty gross. The use of inmate labor has expanded in recent decades, with incarcerated workers laboring in industries including mining, agriculture, and all manner of manufacturing, raising concerns about whether they're vulnerable to workplace exploitation. Supporters say inmates who participate are better prepared for finding jobs once they're released. So, of course, the supporters would say that. And, of course, this article it's the Washington Post, so they're not going to have any abolitionist takes. Surprise, surprise. But as Frackle stated earlier, the data suggests that these people are actually not well prepared for finding jobs once they've been released. Kentucky has one of the highest recidivism rates in the country. Furthermore, as stated in this little paragraph, the one part of a sentence that refers to the vulnerability of these workers, naturally, these workers are exploited. I'm willing to bet that a lot of people didn't even know that prison labor still exists in this country. They probably didn't. Well, I say the words, I finished that sentence with "still exists." I'm sure that there's people who don't know that prisoners are part of the labor force, right? There's people who don't know about convict leasing and the history of prison labor, right? There's people who don't know about um the black codes and that sort of thing, right? Like people who obviously there's people who don't know, like there's people who don't know that prison labor is a thing. So of course there's people who don't know that, like, why prison labor is a thing, right? They think it's voluntary, a good deal for prisoners to take. That's how work release is marketed. Yeah. So they immediately cut right into the propaganda for that in this piece, too. So participation in the jobs program is voluntary, the policy states, and inmates are responsible for securing their own employment. So the thing about voluntary is, like, you're literally in fucking jail. Like, there's a lot of things that I would rather do than be in jail. You know what I mean? In much the same way that labor and capitalism in America is voluntary, in terms of, like, you have a choice of whether or not you want to work and who you want to work for and how much you would like to get paid and so on and so forth. Um, you can set all of those parameters on the outset, but you might starve to death as a consequence of your choosiness, right? Your choices might cause you to end up on the street, right? That's the voluntary part. It's voluntary in that you have the choice as to whether or not you want to end up on the street and starve to death and so on and so forth, right? Same thing with prison labor. You have the choice as to whether or not you want to go to a job doing God knows what, or be cooped up in your fucking cell or the jail or whatever all day, right? So there's already that. But then on top of that, you have to find your own job. So the jail doesn't even help you get a job. You're responsible for finding your own employment, which has got to be insanely difficult as an inmate, unless you're going to these places who specifically hire inmates because they know that they can exploit inmate labor, right? And we already know that minimum wage is a starvation wage, right? The fight for 15 has been going on for so long that 15 isn't even a living wage anymore. We know this. And on top of that, you have to pay a fifth of your paycheck to the jail, right? You got to pay 1 day's pay. If you work 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, you got to pay 1 day's worth of work to the jail. Kamala kept people in prison for cheap firefighter labor. She absolutely did. She absolutely did. She kept people in jail for a lot of different reasons. Kamala Harris is fucking garbage. We do not stand Kamala Harris on this channel. We actually low key hate Kamala Harris on this channel. Um, so yeah. And on top of that, here's the kicker. You ready for this? Hang on, because it gets better. But wait, there's more. Hang on. So all the workers in the candle factory survived. However, naturally, the inmates were threatened with firing if they didn't work the night shift. Janine Johnson Williams was afraid of storms, but she also feared that she wouldn't be able to give her 19 grandkids a special Christmas if she called out of work at the Mayfield Candle Factory Friday night. Company had been ramping up production, yada yada yada, same story. Wages stagnant. Production must increase, though, because profits must increase, because capitalism requires infinite growth. You know the deal. You know the vibes. But, yeah. Surprise, surprise. Capitalism sucks. Let me check out the PDF of the other article that I was looking at. earlier. Open it with Firefox. Thank you, Frackle. You know what? Maybe it's me because I was talking about this at work earlier with Fade Runner. Formatting isn't perfect. It doesn't have to be. I appreciate you even doing this. Frackle, I truly appreciate you. So I don't think, and like I said, I won't say there's nobody talking about this. There's people with much larger platforms than me, people with much larger followings, people much smarter, people much more educated and much more nuanced on the topic than me talking about this, but scarcely. You know what I mean? Everybody's talking about this C word shit, right? Hassan got banned, Vosh got banned. Like the meme was funny for like a couple hours, and that's cool and all, but like, can we get back to the, you know what I mean? This is ridiculous, and it's sus to me. What makes it that much more sus to me is the fact that it's Amazon. You know what I mean? Like, it's a wild coincidence to me, an insane coincidence to me, that when we find out that Amazon was threatening to fire people if they didn't go into the factory before they got killed in the tornado, when we find that out, then suddenly all the most vocal critics of Amazon, all of these vocal lefties, are getting banned for saying a slur that is literally based on being out of power, right? The C slur, and and that's what makes the whole both sides, no one should say slurs, take so fucking brain dead, is that the C slur literally exists as an expression of the absence of power from the person using it, right? The thing that is being made fun of in the slur, in the C slur, is the fact that the person that the slur is directed at has power. The person using the C slur is acknowledging the fact that they are on the lower end, the weaker end of the power dynamic. Do you get that? This is why it's not the same as the N word. Barring the history of the N word, all that stuff, slurs are typically based upon a power dynamic. Whether we're talking about the F slur, the N slur, the R slur, whatever. All these things are bad because they imply making light of a power dynamic that we acknowledge as bad, right? And it moves in one direction. The person using the slur is making light of the fact that they have power. Socially, physically, whatever. You calling someone a C word, you're using an anti-white slur. First of all, can we just say that white is not a race? Like, this needs to be talked about, because I've seen very few people talking about that too. The fact that whiteness is literally just whatever is not black. That is the definition of whiteness. If you're not black, you can be white. Ask the Italians or the Irish or Nick Fuentes, right? Or fucking, it's just, there are lots of things that can be slid into that category. Your proximity to whiteness is defined solely by your distance from blackness. That's it. So when you use the anti-white slur, you are literally acknowledging a power dynamic that is in favor of the person you're using the slur against. I just want to throw that out there. And I also have to say that there are literally people dying. We're calling ourselves leftists, right? There's people that are flying the flag of, if they're not overtly anti-capitalist, they are calling for, benevolent capitalism, whatever that means, however you can figure that out. There are, like, this is low-hanging fruit to me. Extremely low-hanging fruit. Like, every fucking wannabe political streamer on planet Earth should be talking about this shit right now. But everybody wants to talk about how Vosh and Hassan got banned. And it's it makes me want to be like, it makes me want to go full Alex Jones, you know what I mean? And be like Hassan and Vosh. They have contracts with Twitch. Twitch is owned by Amazon, so they're being paid to stay quiet about the Amazon fucking factory disaster. And this is all some psyop shit. And the government is like helping perpetuate this with sock accounts and shit so that the C word trends, but the Amazon collapse doesn't. It makes me want to go full fucking tinfoil hat. You know what I mean? But anyway, so this is the what I was trying to look at, but uh, there was another inmate who tried to run away, and oh yeah, so I guess this is just okay. Yeah, sorry. There were other inmates who tried to run away, or other inmates who were stranded and then turned themselves back into jail after they went missing as a result of the tornado. But the big thing we want to talk about, obviously, so Amazon criticized over safety at tornado hit warehouse. Thank you, Steph. Hey, thank you for the stars. I appreciate you. So this never would have happened if they cared about lives over productivity, the sister of one of the victims commented on social media. Naturally. I saw some truly heartbreaking shit, like people trying to text their loved ones and their loved ones being like, we're not allowed to leave, we're trapped in the warehouse. Like it's just I can't believe, right? It's mind boggling to me that we're going to watch everything happen the way that it's happened with COVID last year and how eager people were to send us back to work literally in the middle of a global pandemic with no prediction on when it would end, um, no timeline on when a vaccine might be available, really no methodology as to an effective treatment, even after you already have gotten sick. How horny they were to send everybody back to work while they stayed home, naturally. Managers did not set a foot inside of their businesses last year. And you even had some confused workers who were trying to protest to open the country back up, right? And the capitalism machine is so fucking rickety that we couldn't stay closed for 3 weeks to weather a global pandemic. We couldn't pay people for 3 weeks and say, "Hey, there's some fuck shit happening. Just stay home, have a moon pie and a Mountain Dew." You know what I mean? Chill out for 3 weeks while this burns out, then we can go back to what we were doing, right? We had to keep money changing hands so bad that we have over 500,000 people dead as a result of this now. And there's people who still think it's not real, it's a hoax. You know, the vaccine is just a compliance effort. It's just uh, and we are going to go back to normal. And by that I mean there are people who are going to work through these conditions and not question them. There are people who are going to work through these conditions. And if we ever make any headway, if we ever go back to like pre 2020 vibes, they'll be proud that they worked through this shit. They'll be proud that while the world was dying of COVID and burning to death and drowning, they clocked in to make their boss richer. And it's depressing, very depressing. There was ample time and warning to shutter and evacuate. They knew a chain of tornadoes was coming. Oh yeah, I mean they just don't care because they could have that. That's and this is what I learned is that it doesn't matter. And I keep trying to reiterate this to people that I talk about on a regular basis. Like you think you're part of a family, you think you're part of a team, you think this company values you. They value your labor. If you died, they would replace you in 24 hours. And that's what they'll do here. When my house burned down in 2017, they spent 6 months on repairs and they had tenants in that building a year later. Thank you for the dono, Frackle. I appreciate you. I truly do. But yeah, and also because I want to talk about this too. This is something I want to talk about because I saw Sharky tweet that he was thinking about making a move to YouTube streaming, and I literally, if you're wondering why you can't subscribe to me, it's because I terminated my affiliate contract with Twitch specifically so that I would be able to multi-stream because one of the terms of the contract, I'm assuming with partner contracts too, because I haven't made partner with Twitch, so I wouldn't know. But with the affiliate contract, Twitch owns your likeness and brand, as far as I am aware. And on top of that, you cannot multi-stream. You can stream to other platforms, but they have to be streams different from the Twitch stream. Partners also claim exclusivity. Yeah, see, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like it would have to be like beyond just the money aspect of it. Like I could understand if you're the type of person that's like a Twitch partnership would make me more money than a Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook partnership combined or whatever, what have you. Like if the terms of that partnership are better than what you would get with Facebook or YouTube, that's cool. But I would be scared in terms of the exclusivity of exactly what's transpired over the last 24 hours happening. The platform just decides they're going to deplatform you, and now you have uh, no base. You have nowhere else to go. You know what I mean? Like with how I'm set up now, I have roughly equal amounts of followers across all of my platforms. I have like 800 followers on Facebook. My YouTube is kind of sucky because I haven't put a whole lot of effort in my YouTube. So I only have like 150 subscribers there, but Twitch is like close to 800. So if I get clapped on Twitch, I just go to Facebook or YouTube and Patreon. The Patreon route is the real way to get the bills covered ultimately. That's true. I'm trying to figure out because that's the other tough thing is like I want to do this and I want to commit to it. And I actually streamed like it sucks that this like people's discovery of me is so poorly timed because I was actually streaming full time this time last year. I was streaming full time between December 1st and I would probably say like April 1st of this year. And I just couldn't get like I couldn't make headway doing anything. The only thing I would get is hate rates. Like I was covering press conferences, I was covering the impeachment hearings for the president, the former president, excuse me. I was covering the January 6th hearings. Like I was watching all this stuff, live streaming for like hours a day and just going nowhere. Streaming for like average 4 viewers, you know what I mean? So I got the job that I have now. Discoverability is real rough. Yeah. Yeah. I also wasn't doing it like making the proper moves. Like I didn't have the knowledge about how the algorithms work and shit now that I do now that I didn't have that then that I didn't have then what I do now, the knowledge of how algorithm shit works. So like I want to commit to doing YouTube and doing streaming a lot and all this stuff, but like it's a gamble at this point because I just got like healthcare and dental and shit. So like I'm getting all these fucking work done on my teeth and stuff, and like I don't want to fucking it just sucks because I have so many ideas too, and since I've discovered people like you and Boy Meets Minnie and Alec Gunter and Sharky and all these people, like I want to interact and collab and make content and stuff, but I work a fucking punishing ass, backbreaking ass fucking warehouse job, and I don't have the energy to do a lot of this shit, and I don't have the infrastructure for it. So I'll do like the occasional Twitch clip and like TikTok or like talking to the camera for TikTok, but like, yeah. Thanks for the like and the share, Key. But yeah, like how do you convince people that are able to save their boss isn't their friend, and how will we be able to get people that aren't to get to a point where they aren't forced into selling their life? Understanding unions would help, but the anti-union movement has been so strong that I don't know how to help people that need shit, Amazon and the like jobs. So Stephanie, like you just have to meet people where they're at is the only thing that I could possibly say is like there's a lot of propaganda, like anti-union propaganda, but in terms of being directly on the line, like with my um I'm going to try to be careful about how I talk about this because I'm literally talking about unions at work. But like with the people that were anti-union at my job, in terms of like workers, like not managers, like actual workers, the anti-union people there, they just weren't. They didn't have a firm grasp of what a union actually was. And when you're like on the line, when you're working and shit together, you can just have casual conversations like that, especially people who complain about how they don't get raises and that kind of shit. That's when you explain to them, um, if you were in a union, you might get your raise. You explain to them concepts like collective bargaining, and you know what I mean. Um, and eventually, if we are on some IWW vibes and we have everyone around the world, across the world, and um, we're all in the same union, then we can get to a point where people don't need to sell their labor to survive. But how are you a worker and anti-union? The same way you're a capitalist and don't own any capital, my friend. There's just it's this double think meme that Americans are like cursed with. It's a brain worm that they have where like when you say the word union to them, they're like, "Nah, I don't want to pay union dues." But they don't think about the fact that their boss is stealing money out their paycheck fucking daily. You know what I mean? Their boss is stealing money out their paycheck every pay period, but they don't want to unionize because they think they're going to have to pay extra money on their check in union dues. Capitalists who don't own capital think capitalism is good because that's a way to acquire and accrue capital while they have their capital taken away from them every fucking day, while they have capital extracted from them in the form of labor exploitation. There's some good resources around on-site union organizing. Yeah, right on. I wish my job had a union too. My job is too small for a union. There's only like 6 of us total on the dock at any given time, so there's yeah, unions aren't interested. We're a private, we're like a private company, privately owned, and there's not enough of us to make it worthwhile for the larger unions to do that. And the people that I work with are too precarious. You know what I mean? They're precariat, as Noam Chomsky would say. The precarious proletariat. Their situations are too fragile for them to risk getting fired behind attempting to unionize or whatever. You mainly asking about England immigrants that don't speak English very well. How do we convince them that the American dream was a lie? I mean, it shouldn't be hard. Reasonable people, it shouldn't be hard to convince. especially if we're talking about service industry immigrant workers. I actually was just talking about this with Robbie on the podcast, the last pod episode. Those people are underpaid. They're probably trapped because they have their visa or whatever being held hostage, right? You know what I mean? So those are people who already despise the conditions they're in. They just need to be adequately explained to what their conditions are. Unless they're people who legit are just like, hustle mind grind set. Those people are, you can't, they're like unreasonable. You can't reason with those people. Those are the people who are just like, the cognitive dissonance is so strong. The poverty shame and the fucking just like the sorrow is so deep that they have to convince themselves. They have to bury themselves in work and then convince themselves that even though no matter how hard they work, they still make the same amount of money, that if they just work hard enough, they'll be a millionaire one day. You know what I mean? In your opinion, you'll take one high profile union win against a big company like Blizzard or Starbucks or something which will significantly improve workers' rights, conditions, and will kindle appetite in other workers to unionize. I would say that if the propaganda wasn't so strong, like anti-union propaganda wasn't so strong in other companies, like non-fail, every retail place I've worked for, they so places have one of two policies typically. One is very important. Mad places that I've worked for had like 2-day trainings, and the entire first day was dedicated to anti-union propaganda, both explaining how unions are bad and also that you should snitch on anyone trying to unionize in the workplace. But also, um, I guess that's it. I was gonna say something else, but I had a brain for it. Goodness knows, Blizzard, Activision, and other AAA studios, as an example, are going to push people far enough to unionize. All right, yeah, that's an industry that's an idea whose time has come. The video game industry needed to be unionized 15 years ago. You know what I mean? So I that's a given in my opinion. Within the next like 5-10 years, there'll be like a game makers guild or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised. Of just like if you're in the video game industry, you are part of that union. Think actually seeing a high profile story of a union improving working conditions for workers could help counter that narrative? That's true. I'm so cynical because people experience this shit all the time and they still like, you know what I mean? Detrimental to unions for the individual. The hustle mind grind set literally kills niggas. There are people that are dead right now because they work too hard. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah. You never been to a job, had a class saying union is bad, but I would have done my research if I did a job like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing I was gonna say is that other than the anti-union shit, the other classic is them telling you not to share with your coworkers how much you're getting paid. And I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. If your employer is telling you not to share your pay with your coworkers, they're doing something illegal. I can promise you this. They might not be doing something illegal, but they're definitely doing something shady. There's some shady fuckery 1000% happening. And businesses they love to absolutely prey on workers doing the I work harder than this guy thing. They love for you to prey on each other, because if you're too busy arguing with each other, then that means that you don't have time to get together and organize and collectively bargain and barter with your labor. You know what I'm saying? And The union guy, the pro labor guy, they'll just fire him and replace him anyway. So, but all this shit, it's and I wish I could say that co-ops were the answer too. In the short term, they're the answer. I think that they're the most ethical way that you could do like business, given the current climate of capitalism. One of my favorite videos on YouTube is Alky's video about Frederick Douglass's colored co-op, the ship caulkers co-op that was here in Fells Point, or well, not here in Fells Point, but here in Maryland, in Fells Point. So co-ops are dope. I like black co-ops as well. Shout out to Harker Brothers Ice Cream here in Baltimore. But that's not it's a temporary solution to me. Yeah, it is one. I should reiterate that as well. It is not illegal to discuss your pay. It is 1,000% legal to discuss your pay, and you should discuss your pay. Don't jeopardize your job if you're in a precarious situation. You know what I mean? Because I have seen that happen. I have seen people get fired for talking about how much they get paid when they're not supposed to talk about how much they get paid. But like I said, if your employer has a policy where you're not supposed to talk about how much you're getting paid with your coworkers, there is some fuckery afoot. Rest assured, there is fuckery afoot. Do not wonder, are they asking me not to share my pay with my coworkers because there's fuckery happening? That is what's happening. They're asking you not to share your pay with coworkers because there's fuckery happening. Whether you're getting paid drastically more or drastically less or whatever, there's some kind of fuckery is happening. That is what's going on. But yeah, the policy itself is illegal. I'm sure it is, but it's another one of those things like wage theft where like even if you can get it documented that the company did that somehow, good luck fighting them in court over that and winning. Your company is deeply rooted in fuckery. You've been trying to exfiltrate without landing in a bad financial situation. Yeah, I know the feel. I'm literally trying to figure out, like I've been doing Instagram content and stuff. Like I'm trying to figure out how to become an influencer, quote unquote, or like streamer or whatever, so that I can do something that I actually care to put effort into, labor into, as opposed to the backbreaking ass work that just makes somebody else rich, who literally exploits me, doesn't give a fuck about me. My job is low key segregated. Like it affects me mentally, like going into this place. It affects me mentally going in there, but I have to because I have no alternative in the moment. And it sucks knowing that as fucked up as it is in there, I could easily land someplace worse. Way worse. Way, way, way worse. Like my last job, holy shit, was my last job fucked. I thought the job before that was fucked. It's wild how I just descend progressively through a series of jobs that at first seem cool, but then end up being even somehow even worse than the last job. I guess I should have seen that coming, moving from a barista to a hotel receptionist, though. So, but I could go on and on. I could do an entire stream just about shitty jobs I've had, shitty policies those jobs have had, and stuff to watch out for. I have done it before. I might do it again soon. But yeah. I just wanted to talk about that stuff. I guess short stream. Because I'm probably gonna go to bed soon. It's 1 a.m. I have a dentist appointment tomorrow. It's probably gonna really fucking suck. That's why you're scared to look for a job. A W knows better than the W you don't know. Yeah, that's true. And the other thing is, I'm also not really super qualified to do anything. Like I have an insane amount of job experience because of the like how hard I've had to work and the amount of jobs that I've had. So my work experience is hella varied, but I don't have any degrees. So I would only instead of feeding into the goofball slur discourse, I talked about that very briefly. I probably spent like 5 minutes talking about that fate. And Frackle will tell you, it fucking pains me. I am like in agony that that's trending right now and not Amazon fucking literally sending their fucking workers to die. I don't know. But yeah. You're discussing something from a privileged position where you make more and tell people how much you make so they go ask for more. I'm mainly concerned about backbreaking 12 hours, 6, 7 day a week coworkers that I can't connect with fully because we barely communicate. Yeah. So the in terms of that, because obviously you can't just like learn Spanish overnight, but you can like pantomime or use flyers or like use Google Translate and type up something and bring it to them or something like that. I don't know. That's a tough one. In the situation that I was in, where I worked in the kitchen, people that worked in the bag with me, we spent so much time together. They actually learned English in like 6, 7 months, but they were all underage and they were not in the country legally. So there's nothing they could do anyway. It's Portuguese, so it's Portuguese is just Spanish after you've been punched in the mouth. It's cool. I wish my fucking Facebook wouldn't spaz out every time people try to comment on Facebook. Yeah, Portuguese is literally just like you're speaking Spanish and in mid sentence, somebody just boom boom, cold two pieces you dead in the jaw. Two piece in the biscuit, bong. And you're still speaking Spanish after they just rocked you in your mouth. That's what Portuguese is. There's a handful of good jobs you can get with customer service experience, like Optimum Spectrum hire people as a field tech if they have good customer service experience and train them. That's fair. The other thing is like I have skills that I can't verify. So like I do like graphic design is my thing. You see everything that you see on screen right now, I designed. Like you see my 3D printers right here. Like I'm good with graphic design. I know how to use Photoshop. I know web design. I can build websites. I can do web mastering. I know CAD. You see the 3D printers behind me. I know how to design 3D objects in CAD. I could think of an object, design it in CAD, and print it out and have it in my hand. I could think of an object and have it in my hand in a week, right? And I'm broke. And there's people out there who don't even know how to check their email that are fucking millionaires. But I digress. Be safe, everyone. Talk to your coworkers about your pay. Do not talk to your coworkers about organizing for unions at work. Do that outside of work. It's very crucial. I cannot stress that enough. Um, yeah. Who's live? Who we raiding? Who we gonna raid tonight? I know Vosh and Hassan ain't live. That's so fucking like everything from start to finish about that is fucking ridiculous. How about we raid? You guys want to raid Stardust? You want to rate Stardust? Oh my goodness. Boy Meets Lenny is live. Word. I'll rate Boy Meets Minnie. Beer Bash is live too. I'm gonna rate Boy Meets Minnie though. Lost Sue. I'm not following Boy Meets Minnie. I'll follow after I read them. Word. Yeah, I'm gonna raid Boy Meets Minnie. All right, y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, Frackle. Yeah, I'm excited too. I like when I get to talk with people and not just to and by myself.